Good morning to you. I did not start going to church until I was 18, and my beginnings at church were born out of tragedy in my life and me looking for a place to find some answers. And the church, I was young enough and naive enough and didn't have church experience, and I did not know or understand that not all churches were created the same. And so the church that I was going to, after I had been there for a few years, they fired the senior pastor. And the reason why they fired the senior pastor was because his college-ish age son was openly gay. And in sort of their reasoning, it was because that senior pastor did not have control over his household if his son was gay. And they weaponized the Bible to sort of give the reasoning for that and to make it make sense. And it didn't sit well with me, but I kept going. And then a couple of years later, the worship pastor was someone who had struggles with addiction, and he did not, quote unquote, have his addiction under control, so they fired him. And then a couple of years after that, I was going through a divorce. And all that time that I had been at that church, which leaned, I now understand, to the right, there were things that I couldn't do as a woman. And basically, what my role there was, I was relegated to teaching or leading other women or children. There would never have been an opportunity for me to even stand up here the way I'm standing up here today. And so when I went through my divorce, I lost my privileges. And I looked around, and there was a gentleman who had also gone through divorce, but he didn't lose his privileges the way that I had. And when I, raised my hand to inquire about that, I had lost my privileges because I was no longer under the covering of a man, and therefore I was, some sort of a risk or something. And so I couldn't even teach women or children anymore. And that was the point where I made my exit. And I had been at that church for 17 years during sort of a very critical time of my faith formation. And so all of that bad theology, the things that I didn't agree with, the ways that they treated me as a woman, and then as a divorced woman, I bore the scars of that. And so from then on out, and including when I got to CrossWalk, I've made very purposeful choices now about the spaces that I'm going to inhabit and the places where I'm going to lend, my leadership and my gifts. And so for me, and there's kind of been a theme this morning of how we've gotten here because other spaces and places were not safe, did not welcome us or affirm us or encourage us. CrossWalk has been that space for me the way that it has been for so many of you. And so I'm grateful to have a place where there's shelter, where there's sanctuary, where there's welcoming, and where there's affirmation, not just, as Norm said, tolerance, but I'm loved and supported like we all are here just for being who we are.